Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the weeds of commercial strategy for places like zoos and wildlife parks. It's a tricky area. Our mission really is to pull out some actionable insights from, well, quite a bit of industry material we've looked at. And it boils down to one question. How do these places boost their revenue without, you know, making a family day out feel like a constant sales pitch? We're zeroing in on what's called ancillary revenue, basically, all the money made after someone buys that initial ticket. So think gift shop stuff, parking, food, drinks, those VIP animal meet and greets, and yeah, memberships too. Super important stuff.
Absolutely. This revenue often directly funds the conservation work, which is core to their mission. It's vital.
Yeah.
And what the sources are showing pretty clearly, actually, is a big strategic shift. For ages, success was just about footfall, how many people came through the gate. But now
Yeah.
the focus is shifting. Increasing ancillary revenue or spend per head is often seen as a much better indicator, a better KPI of actual sustainable growth, better than just ticket sales alone.
That's a key difference.
It really is. The dream scenario, if you like, is turning someone who visits once into a loyal supporter. Someone who wants to spend a bit more because it adds to their experience, maybe feels educational, or they see it directly supporting the animals the second they feel pressured, though, or constantly upsold. That positive feeling evaporates. So it's a fine line. And that's where digital engagement comes in, bridging the physical visit with, well, the virtual possibilities.
Okay, right. So let's unpack that. If the goal is bumping up that spend per head, then the effort starts way before anyone even gets near the entrance, doesn't it? What are the digital tools for that pre-visit phase?
Yeah, the pre-visit is absolutely prime time. It's your best shot at locking in some of that higher value spending and smoothing things out operationally before guests even arrive. The core idea is maximizing those pre-purchase opportunities. So encouraging people to add things on right when they're buying their main tickets online.
Right. Not just the basic parking pass, but pushing for those more premium add-ons.
Precisely. Things like priority parking spaces, prepaid meal vouchers, maybe those exclusive behind-the-scenes tours or animal encounters that, have limited spots.
Yeah.
If you make buying those easy and immediate right there during the initial booking, you capture that revenue up front while the guest is actively planning and probably more receptive.
And I noticed the material really hammers home the idea of bundle packages too, like
Yeah.
a VIP family bundle, parking, lunch, maybe an animal interaction all wrapped up. Seems smart.
Oh, it's a fantastic strategy because it cleverly shifts the focus from individual item cost to the overall value and convenience. You offer a bundle, maybe at a slight discount compared to buying separately, and suddenly it feels exclusive, simple. The guest feels they've sorted a premium day out before they even leave home. Plus, it lets the zoo package higher margin items more effectively.
Makes sense. And this pre-visit window is also the key moment for pushing memberships, right?
It absolutely is. Your website, your app, whatever digital platform they're using needs to immediately showcase the long-term perks of being a member. Unlimited entry, maybe priority booking for events, discounts in the shop or cafe. When someone's buying a standard day ticket, hitting them with those targeted messages right then can really nudge them towards that bigger long-term commitment. Securing that recurring annual income early on, that provides huge financial stability for the park.
Okay, so we've potentially got more money up front, maybe even a new member, but the job's not done. How do we make sure that sense of value, that maybe exclusive feeling, actually continues once they're walking around the zoo?
That's the crucial handover, isn't it? From pre-visit to on-site. And during the visit itself, the absolute cornerstone tool is a really good customizable mobile app. This isn't just a map you look at. It needs to be dynamic. It needs to act like a personal guide. And yes, subtly, a kind of spending concierge. The digital layer should genuinely enhance the physical experience.
The sources talk a lot about the app needing specific features or mechanisms to make spending easier, almost frictionless. What were the main techniques mentioned?
Yeah, they highlighted a couple of big ones. First is navigation combined with promotion. So interactive maps are essential, obviously, but they need to be smart maps. They should connect to real-time, location-based notifications. Say you're walking past the primate house, and the cafe just around the corner starts a 2-hour lunch special. Boom! The app sends you a little nudge, maybe even drops a time-limited coupon right into an in-app wallet.
So it's immediate and relevant.
Exactly. That immediacy can really drive impulse buys for things like food or quick souvenirs. The second big mechanism is frictionless transactions. The insight here is simple. Queues kill revenue. If someone has to wait ages for food or to buy something in the shop, especially with kids in tow, they'll often just give up. We all have. So the app must integrate smoothly with the park's point-of-sale systems. Let people order and pay for lunch right from the app, maybe skip the queue, or even scan and pay for a gift shop item without ever going near the till. Removing those barriers, that friction, it just makes people much more likely to make those smaller, frequent purchases that add up.
Okay, that makes total commercial sense. But here's the worry, and I suspect you, the listener, might be thinking this too. How do zoos stop this feeling? Well, purely transactional. How do you keep the focus on education, on conservation, while the app is potentially nudging purchases?
That's a critical question, and the answer seems to lie in smart gamification, which is where zoos can really differentiate from standard retail. You use interactive stuff like digital trails, maybe little species quizzes through the app. These enrich the learning, make it fun. But here's the clever bit, the strategic twist. You link completing an educational activity directly to a commercial incentive.
How does that work in practice?
Well, imagine completing a digital trail about, say, endangered big cats. Successfully finishing it might unlock some cool extra facts, or maybe a short video about a specific conservation project the zoo supports for tigers. Then, as a reward for completing that trail, you get a discount voucher. But, and this is key, it's only valid at the gift shop for merchandise featuring those specific big cats.
Ah, I see. So the spending feels connected to the learning.
Precisely. It reframes the purchase. It's not just buying a toy, it's celebrating what you just learned and maybe feels like you're supporting that animal indirectly. It elevates spending towards the mission rather than just being pure commerce.
That's a really important distinction the sources seem to make. And talking about making things relevant, let's touch on personalization. Tailoring notifications sounds effective for spending, but what about privacy? How much data is too much before visitors feel like they're just being tracked for sales?
That's the tightrope again, isn't it? The material suggests successful personalization relies more on preference-based approaches rather than just blanket tracking. It's about using the data guests sort of implicitly provide through their actions. Do they spend a long time watching the penguins? Okay, then maybe suggest some penguin-related merchandise later or flag when the next feeding time is. It's based on their demonstrated interest, not just random surveillance.
They have to feel helpful, not creepy.
Exactly. The goal is always to provide value back to the guest. When the app helps them, maybe suggests a less crowded path because it detects congestion ahead, or reminds them about that show starting soon near their current location, they see the data exchange as beneficial. This augmented personalization, as some call it, creates a more bespoke, smoother day out. And that significantly boosts satisfaction, which in turn makes people more open to spending.
Great point. Okay, so the visit ends, the guest heads home. But the relationship shouldn't end there, right? What about post-visit? How do you keep them engaged and encourage repeat visits, maybe even lock in that recurring revenue?
Post-visit engagement is where you really build that long-term loyalty and secure future income. You absolutely cannot let the connection drop just because they've left the site. Digital channels, email, app notifications are key here. You need to keep sending personalized, high-quality content that keeps your zoo top of mind.
What kind of content works best?
It has to feel personal and relevant. Maybe share some photos they took using an in-app feature during their visit. Send updates about new arrivals. Baby animals are always a huge draw. Or perhaps early bird invites to special events or seasonal activities. It just keeps that emotional connection alive.
And what about the more direct ask, actually getting them to come back again?
You make it easy and appealing. A simple "thanks for visiting" email a few days later, maybe with a time-limited discount coupon for their next visit. That gives a clear, tangible reason to start planning a return trip.
Makes sense. Low friction again.
Yep. And for recurring revenue, the main focus is obviously the membership renewal campaign. These can't just be generic reminders. They need to be targeted digital campaigns. They must constantly reinforce the value, maybe highlight exclusive member-only content they've accessed, remind them of discounts they used, flag up priority booking for popular events, or perhaps invite them to a special online talk with a conservationist. The data gathered during their visits helps you tailor which benefits to emphasize for which member, making that renewal pitch much more persuasive.
The sources also talked about turning these loyal guests into advocates. How does that fit in?
Oh, massively. Advocacy is essentially free, highly credible marketing. You encourage visitors to share their experiences on social media, maybe run photo contests with a specific hashtag, or create shareable digital moments within the app. This user-generated content, pictures, positive comments is trusted far more than official advertising. It genuinely attracts new visitors and reinforces the positive experience for your existing community. It's
Yeah.
incredibly powerful.
It sounds like this whole system, pre-visit, on-site, post-visit, really hinges on collecting and using data effectively. The guide stressed that data isn't just about tracking sales anymore, it's about informing overall strategy. How does that leap happen, from simple records to strategic insight?
Data truly is the bedrock for smart commercial decisions now. Teams are using analytics for some really quite detailed operational insights. For instance, analyzing purchase patterns isn't just about knowing what sells, it's about when and where things sell. If ice cream sales always spike between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. near the lion enclosure, well, that tells you exactly where and when to deploy extra staff or mobile kiosks,
Okay.
or tracking how guests move around the park using the app. That helps identify bottlenecks, yes, but also high traffic zones around popular feeding times or shows.
Yeah.
You can then adjust staffing, maybe even place temporary retail or F&B points there to capture opportunistic spending. It improves efficiency and the guest experience at the same time.
And beyond immediate operations, what about longer-term strategic forecasting?
That's where it gets really powerful. Advanced analytics can start to predict visitor behavior. By looking at past attendance correlated with spending trends, weather patterns, maybe even local events, zoos can start to anticipate busy periods much more accurately. If the data shows, say, sunny weekends in spring lead to a surge in VIP experience bookings, they can proactively schedule more staff for those roles and ensure they have the capacity to meet that demand, maximizing revenue.
And these digital platforms also seem to create new opportunities for bringing in external money through partnerships.
Yes, absolutely. Think of the app and website as sophisticated advertising platforms. Zoos can build lucrative partnerships and sponsorships, but crucially, with brands that align with their own conservation and education mission. So instead of just slapping a random logo somewhere, they can integrate promotions more naturally. Maybe a section on sustainable packed lunches sponsored by an eco-friendly food brand. Or a digital Explore the Rainforest Trail co-sponsored by a relevant conservation charity or an ethical travel company. It generates extra income streams without compromising the zoo's core identity and message.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly promising, but let's be realistic. What are the main roadblocks for parks trying to implement this kind of big digital overhaul? It can't be easy or cheap.
No, it's definitely not trivial. The main hurdles mentioned are pretty predictable, actually. There's the initial financial investment, which can be substantial. There's the need for quite significant staff. Training everyone from frontline staff to marketing needs to understand and use the system. And then there's the technical complexity of integrating these new digital tools with often quite old existing systems, things like ticketing databases or outdated point-of-sale hardware. That integration piece can be a real headache.
So if a zoo director is looking at different digital solutions, what should they be prioritizing to try and minimize those risks?
Flexibility and scalability are key. The advice leans heavily towards SaaS software as a service platforms, basically subscription-based software that's continually updated by the provider. This avoids the huge upfront cost and risk of commissioning a completely custom-built system, a bespoke build, which can take ages and be outdated almost as soon as it's finished. SaaS solutions usually require less in-house technical expertise to manage day-to-day as well. But honestly, just as important is good change management. Clear communication internally about why this is happening and how it helps everyone is absolutely critical for getting staff on board.
We did see a specific example backing this up in the materials, didn't we? A case study.
Yeah, that was interesting. The case study with Ian Osborne from Jersey Zoo. He was pretty clear that adopting a flexible platform, I think it was n-gaged.io they mentioned, was a real game changer for them. He said it didn't just help with visitor engagement, but crucially, it provided business-critical insights that directly fed back into how they ran things, pricing decisions, where to put resources, understanding visitor flow. It showed that the right tech can genuinely support both the commercial needs and the core conservation mission.
Right. And just to quickly recap the kind of features that make up a really effective, modern, all-in-one platform for this. We're talking integrated digital tickets and memberships, obviously, to cut those entry queues. Then you need those interactive maps, the wayfinding, Tools for planning your day, getting reminders, add in the learning bits like species quizzes, plus the techie stuff like triggering location-based info using beacons or QR codes, and underneath it all, that deep audience data feeding back into the strategy.
Yeah. That's a perfect summary. It really captures all the components. And, at the end of the day, this investment in digital transformation pays off in so many ways. Yes, it's about revenue, but it's also fundamentally about enhancing guest satisfaction, making operations smoother, and ultimately ensuring the long-term financial health needed to do the vital conservation work. Zoos really need to be agile, to be forward-thinking digitally, if they want to thrive in what's a pretty competitive landscape.
So given that increasing spend per head is increasingly seen as that key growth indicator,
Yeah.
here's something for you, our listener, to think about. If digital engagement succeeds in making transactions almost completely frictionless, totally personalized, super easy to pay, constantly prompted with relevant things to buy, how does an attraction make sure the guest still feels they're getting real value and not just caught in a seamless, almost invisible upselling machine? Something to ponder until our next deep dive.